Alright, so I'll do this one 2 hands at a time. And everything that's in this song is pretty much out of a G Lydian scale. So if you're unfamiliar with what that means, if you know your major scales, take a G major scale and raise the 4 up by a half step. So in this case, it would be G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, and G. It gives you a really cool, mysterious kind of sound. And they use that in a lot of their songs. They also have that sound in R.I.P.C.D., which is another one I plan on covering in a future video. But for this one, we're going to start with a G major 7 chord with the B in the bass. So that is your left hand pointer finger goes on B, and then your right hand pointer finger goes on F sharp, middle finger goes on G. And as far as the pedal goes, basically with this song, it's a little tricky because it sounds like they have some reverb on the piano, but it doesn't sound like the pedal is really being used. But to compensate for that, the best kind of in-between that I was able to figure out was I just use the pedal every time this particular chord happens. So every time this chord pops up in the song, I push the pedal down, and then once I go into the stuff in between that chord, I lift the pedal off. So now I lift the pedal, and now my pinky in my right hand reaches up to C sharp, my left hand thumb is on D, and then my ring finger in my left hand goes down to G, and my pointer finger in my right hand goes to F sharp, which is the same note that it started on in that first chord. Okay, so start with that. Pedal, lift the pedal. Then you go back to the first chord, press the pedal down again. Okay, so. And then right here, my middle finger is going to stay down on this G. I take my pointer finger off and I put my pinky down on the B note. And then my thumb in my left hand goes up to C sharp, and I play that twice. So this is an example of a chord that kind of sounds weird on its own, but in the context of the song, it works great. So now we have. Okay, and then you go back to the same first chord, then the same D to C sharp, then G down to F sharp, back to the first chord again. And now the ending is slightly different. Instead of doing this chord twice, like we did in the first half, we do it once, and then you go to this pretty different chord at the end. So right here, my ring finger in my left hand goes down to F sharp, and then in my right hand, my thumb is on D, and my pointer finger is on F sharp. So having the pointer finger on F sharp right there makes it really easy to go back to the top of the song, because then we start back on this chord, and we want our pointer finger right there, right? Keeps it nice and smooth. So really slow, the whole thing. Okay, and like I was saying, that Lydian scale, that's a really big part of a lot of their sound. They use that a lot. And if you want to experiment with making some beats that kind of sound like them, coming up with some piano parts that resemble the Flatbush Zombie sound, I would recommend just sitting down on the piano, take a Lydian scale, and maybe mess around with some notes within the scale and see what you come up with. So if this theory stuff is really tricky and you're not sure what I'm talking about, let's just start with a C major scale, right? Most people know the C major scale. It's from C to C, all white keys. Right, so you want to take the 4th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is F, and raise it a half step. So play a C major scale, but instead of playing F, play F sharp. Okay? Right, and just maybe come up with some different, you know, little things like that, right? I'm just taking some different notes that are in the scale, playing them at the same time, and you know, you can come up with. I'm just making stuff up on the spot, but it's, you know, I'm taking the notes from that scale and coming up with some different groupings of those notes that might sound cool together. So that could be one way to come up with kind of a Flatbush Zombie sounding beat. So just to play the whole piano part a couple more times.